And because of the importance of this budget hearing, we will leave this open for a little bit, even if nobody comes forward, just in case we have somebody that comes late to this. When is the report due for the meeting last night? Just
10
days.
I have to send it to subdivisions and state outline, so I'll send it to myself.
Okay.
This is worse than I thought it would be. Lord has windows there by years.
We're not giving Melanie much to write about today.
She's still riding.
She's probably going over last night yet.
Anybody got a deck of cards?
I guess I had 5 minutes in my mind. We're almost there.
Yeah.
Just in case you wanted to know. Okay, I did have, before this started, I did have a 5-minute kind of in my mind if somebody did not want to talk. It was publicized for 8:30. I feel that we've gave it due diligence. The people in the room, we have one comment. And at this point in time, we will close the public hearing for the budget of the York County for 23-24, and we will adjourn. Now, at this time also, we will reconvene as the Board of Commissioners for our normal September 19th Board of Commissioner meeting. Roll call, please.
Rhodes.
Present.
Bear.
Present.
Ziegler.
Present.
Sykes.
Present.
Obermeyer.
Here, open meetings law is posted on the south side of our chambers. It is in the hallway outside of our chambers. It is also on our website. Proof of publication for this meeting was also in the News Times September 14th. It is also on our website. Next up, we need to review and approve the minutes of the September 5th Board of Commissioner meeting.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Rhodes.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Obermeyer.
Yes, adopt today's agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Bear,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay, officials forum. Any official? Morning, Nick.
Morning. Nick Wahlberg, Veteran Service Officer. Just give you guys a couple weeks ago, we did the interlocal agreement update. I went down in front of Fillmore County. They signed it. So I have 2 copies. So we have 2 wet copies, one for each county. So Randy, you'll have to sign, and then I'll get it to Gary to sign later this week before I take it back down there to them. We made that effective July 1 of 2023, so it'll be effective. So when I bill here on the 1st of the month, October, it'll be for that 12 and a half. So we did 2 payments, so.
Okay.
And if you read it, the legality, we didn't have to do it, but before we all forgot, we just did it right away. So it worked out in everybody's favor and it's done. So I'll put these in your box
fine.
over there, and then you can sign after the meeting, and then Kelly and I talked about it. The only thing, I don't know if we need a change in my budget, the revenue coming in to up it for this year.
That goes into general.
That go?
That money goes back into general.
Yeah, perfect. So we should be good to go.
Nope, we should be good. Thank you, Nick.
Yep, no problem.
That was just part of it.
Oh, okay. Any other? Art?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Just a quick update on the roads. We're now starting on working on Road 8 between A and B as one of our 1 and 6 year projects, and also a capital improvement project, and that is underway now. Otherwise, we're hauling gravel, blading roads, and doing our general stuff. So,
Okay. Any questions? Thanks, Art.
you bet.
Any other officials this morning? Okay, move on to public comment at this time. At this time, the public is encouraged to make comment if they'd like to about anything on the agenda or any other comment they would like to make. Take a couple minutes. Nobody this morning? We will move on.
I told Maddie and Region Clerk to come around 9 o'clock because I didn't know how much the budget was going to be.
We'll make it work whenever they show up. We're gonna reserve the right for the executive session possibly till later. There's no general assistance cases. Review and approve the payroll and vendor claims at this time. The only one that I will speak to, it's gonna be towards the back of the packet. It is part of our construction projects through the bond. We need to figure out kind of what happened currently. If we pay that bill, that fund will be in the hole. We can't have that, so we need to kind of figure out and go through all that and see where the addition, subtraction, whatever went wrong. You know, it's gonna be in the hole a little over $200,000. So that one I would say at this time that we drop off here and then we put it back on in 2 weeks' time to figure out just what's going on. Yeah, that is now that this loaded. I'm not sure what, Kelly, do you know what fund that number that was? 4601. Fund 4601.
Is there any additional claims? Make a motion that we approve the payroll and vendor claims
With the subtraction.
with that, yeah.
Thank you.
I do have a question on that. There's and maybe this could be corrected later, but there's a miscellaneous bill in the county attorney's line, for $3,995, I believe.
Yes.
I don't know if that's the correct fund that was to be, paid out of.
Gary, is that the same one we talked about that you had mentioned would be out of 2360?
Is that for, yes,
It was a miscellaneous to corporate payment to
So
the credit card.
It's on the credit card.
that is, if it's what I'm thinking of, that is correct. It would come out of 2360.
2360.
It's for the same amount that we talked about, so I
Okay.
assume that's it.
Yeah, that is correct.
We do have a motion. Is there any other questions anybody has?
I think that was, can we make that change now or do it?
Jack, you okay with that change of your motion? To
Yes.
change that 3995 and come out of the 2360?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second.
We do have a second now. Any other discussion?
Just a quick point out, a good, bill for medical of prisoners again.
Yes.
This round.
How much was that?
For the prisoners, 3,000, a little over 3,000. $3,771.29 to York, General.
Daniel, what date is that through?
For these, claims would be through Thursday of last week, I believe.
Okay, we do have motion and second. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Sykes,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
and Edgeworth.
Yes. Okay, there is no funding transfers that are required. Maddie from Zell will be here, it sounds like in around the 9 o'clock area. So next up, we will discuss an act on project. It's a statewide stop sign project. We have that agreement in front of us. I assume Harv, you know a little bit more about it.
This program will update all the stop signs that are in York County. It'll also put stop ahead signs in front of the ones that don't have it. It brings it up to complete compliance with the Manual Uniform Traffic Controls and Devices. There you go. Anyhow, this is a statewide, it's a safety program is what it is. And the state feds are paying for all the signs. We just have to put them up. We have 1 year to put them up after we get the product to do that. Our share, just rough math, and it's not real close, just for the post and the signs, is gonna be somewhere around 90 grand, $90,000 that they would cost to do this on our own. All we have to do is put them up and maintain them. Statewide, I think this went to $2.3 million is what it is. So when you look at that, and I don't know how many counties participated in it. If my memory is correct, I think there is 1,148 signs that we have to put up to replace and get up to cover with what this does. So.
Now, what I had read, they had a date. You seen a year from receiving, because they had a date of 2025.
Yes, but we don't know how long it's going to take to get our stuff in.
Okay,
Because you're talking semi-loads of signs when you're talking that one. So I have no idea when we're gonna get our stuff.
so is there a little leeway just in case they don't come in till?
If we don't get our signs until 25, we can't put them up
Right.
before that. So,
Right.
yes. 1 year after we get the stuff to get them in, which we
Okay.
can do.
Okay, all right. And they had the figure up here like $136,000
Yeah,
is what they had.
I was just going off of the rough figures that I had rattled through in my head when we was doing this.
Okay.
So,
And I don't know what they all figured in that, but that's
Well,
the
that would be-
number I seen.
that would be the post, that would be the sign, that would be the rivets, the bases, the whole ball of wax to put up the stop sign and the stop sign ahead is what it would be. So $136,000 is even more impressive. Look what that saved us.
Right,
And
absolutely.
that puts us up in compliance with everything, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. Now I found it. It's 164,000.
that's it.
Total project cost is currently estimated to be 314.66. They broke it down.
You can see how close I read that.
Yeah, well, I read a lot of numbers last night myself too, and I got that one goofed up. Well, I think it's obvious that, it's still our money.
Oh, yes.
It just comes from a different hat. I think it's a good idea. It looks like the signs themselves will be more reflective, with the posts being
Yes.
reflective too. So,
Yes.
sounds
And
good.
like I said, it brings it up to current designs all the way around. Because we have a lot of stop signs that don't have the stop ahead of. Do they have to be there? No, they don't have to be there, but it is recommended that they are. This will bring us up to compliance that way.
Okay.
And this is only stop sign. It does not take into yield or any of the other signs. It's just strictly stop signs.
If we had the signs sitting in the yard today, how long would it take us to do that?
1 year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, you hadn't gave that any, because we have one or two guys on our crew that do
Yes.
that.
Well, and see, this is gonna be, a lot of these signs is gonna be the matter of pulling the sign out of the ground or sign out of the base, putting a new sign in, because they are in the correct locations right now. So it's just gonna be the matter of updating them. And then we're gonna have all the old posts in inventory to use for other signs. Or for other signs, for the posts and the base and stuff like that. The stop signs that we take down, the bad ones, we will get rid of. The good ones, we will put into stock, and then they will come back and replace as these get damaged, is what they will do, as long as they are compliant and in good shape.
Any other questions, Harv, today? Like I say, I think it sounds like a good
So
deal.
the people that take pot shots at them with their shotguns and their rifles, that's a big deal. It's an expensive
Oh, yes, it
consequence for
is.
that target.
Yes, absolutely.
The only question, I have, and maybe is this so this agreement that we're signing, does have the June 30, 2025 date in there, but you're comfortable that if the signs don't come in till July 1st, that they're not gonna penalize us on that or anything?
We'll just put them in the shed and they can't have them back.
There you go, we'll lock it.
And is this a simple motion to sign? Or-
And there is a
There's a
resolution.
There, yeah, I was
And
gonna
an
say.
agreement.
So I would make a motion that we adopt a resolution and approve chairman's signature on
It's all of us.
It's all of us.
What I'm saying
Everyone
is the Board of
signs the
Commissioners of York County. Yeah.
I make a motion that we adopt a resolution and sign for the HISP statewide stop sign program.
Thank you, Daniel.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Brooks,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
and Pulver.
Yes. Okay, thanks, Harv.
You bet.
Okay, discuss and act on a wage study. Is somebody coming with you?
Yes,
Okay,
they were by Starbucks.
so they're coming. Okay.
Are they bringing Starbucks?
Missed
Did-
opportunity.
We're good. Um,
While we wait for them, if you don't have something else. on
No,
the
we got
agenda-
plenty. We can
Okay.
keep going.
All right,
We can
how
hold
about
on.
it?
Okay. Discuss an act on special liquor license, Derek Keller Blended Distillery. Did we ever receive
He
anything?
was gonna come, I thought too, so
I try to do this.
I really don't have anything on that.
So we'll hold that, because there was no attachments to that, guys, and I'm not sure what's going on. If he ends up not showing up, we'll just table it. Discuss an act on rebranding the name of Region 5.
They were coming too at 9 o'clock.
Everybody's here at 9? Okay.
I guess we have Maddie.
I see her. She's got her copy.
You don't wanna say
Discuss an
that.
act on adult diversion. I did put this on here today. There was, some conversations again at the end of the week, about the adult diversion, about our budget, about, the importance of adult diversion. And so, with us going through all the way through the budget workshop, I wanted this to be a discussion of the Board of Commissioners. And the Board of Commissioners give their yay or nay towards this individual project or funding of this. So at this point in time, Gary, do you want to talk to this at all, or
Mr. Perry will be here in just a minute or two.
9 o'clock too?
Mr. Chairman, if you want to take care of the Board of Equalization stuff, it'll take 3 minutes.
We didn't have a time on it at all, did
No, we
we?
didn't.
Okay.
I'd be more than happy to oblige you.
I appreciate that. All right, so we will take a recess from the Board of Commissioners. We will convene as the Board of Equalization. Roll call, please.
Brooks,
Here.
Bear,
Here.
Ziegler,
Here.
Sykes,
Present.
and Overmeyer.
Here, open meetings law is posted on the south side of our chambers. It's in the hallway outside of our chambers. It is also on our website. Proof of publication, once again, was September 14th in the York News Times and also on our website. We need to review and approve the minutes of our September 5th Board of Equalization meeting.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call.
Sykes,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
and Overmeyer.
Yes, adopt today's agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Bear,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Overmeyer.
Yes, okay.
All right, we have 2 items on there. We're denying some exemptions that were previously applied for and approved by the Board of Equalization because that property has now been taken over by someone else. So first, we need to deny the United Brethren Church exemption and the McCool Junction United Methodist Church exemption. And then we're going to approve, if you would like to, the exemption for McCool Junction Community Church for both those same parcels. So what happened was they closed down the Methodist church and this new community church opened on those parcels. So, and the exemptions don't stay with the parcels, they stay with the organization. So we're just we're moving it over to the other people. That's
And
all.
this is called a permissive exemption
Permissive
because
exemption.
this is done in between that 4-year.
Because it's a new entity that's applying for it, technically, it's literally all the same people, but it's a new entity
Okay.
that's applying for it. So we have to do this permissive exemption, and then they'll have to reapply for the 2024
Okay.
exemptions then.
Okay, so first off, we need to, and that's obviously as your recommendation
Yes.
to deny the permissive exemption of the United Brethren Church and the McCool Junction United Methodist Church.
Correct.
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Brooks,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
and Overmeyer.
Yes. And then next up, we need to discuss an act on permissive exemption application for McCool Junction Community Church on those same 2 parcels that we just took care of, right? They're the same 2 parcels.
Yep.
And this also has your approval.
Yes, it does.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Sykes,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
and Overmeyer.
Yes.
And then also, just FYI, by the end of this month, the Board of Equalization will need to publish in the paper the tax exempt real property, or properties that were receiving these permissive exemptions. And so I got that information to the clerk, and she'll get that in the paper for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thank
Do you
you.
have the
Is that in
papers?
response to the question came up, is how many non-tax properties are in the county last night in the meeting? Is this paper?
This would be those properties, and I can get that number for you.
Yeah.
So,
And then they asked about how much ag ground was,
ag land that contributes to the total valuation is about 69% from what I can tell this morning. So, it's like you said, it's a pretty good chunk of it. So, and then I can just go back to the office real quick and get that number for you for how many exemptions there are. So, at least how many parcels are exempt. We don't have exempt value. I'm hoping here in the next cycle now, when people apply for these permissive exemptions, they're gonna have to put a value down with that. A lot of it's probably just gonna be replacement of whatever they have. So we'll have a better idea of how much actual value is being exempted from the tax rolls too. coming year.
And you have a copy of that permissive exemption to sign.
Do you have the originals?
I do. I'll let you have it.
Okay, we will adjourn. As Board of Equalization, we will reconvene as Board of Commissioners, and we'll see where we're all at.
Mhm.
Thank you. Man left the room. Tristan, we'll get back up.
I'm gonna. Morning, Commissioners. Let me get this over to you guys. Okay. I got a copy for everyone. Budget. Oh, and I'm Tristan Perry, Diversion Coordinator for Eagle County. And so what you're handing around is just kind of updated budget sheet on what really I thought I could do for adult diversion, finding like the minimum expense possible while still being able to kind of kick stuff off. And so this pertains to just myself switching over some hours from the juvenile side and being able to take some cases, work on grants, stuff like that, so we can prepare for next year and hopefully achieve a greater amount for grants and stuff to really kick everything off. And so that is pretty much, I'd have to switch over some of the FICA and retirement. Otherwise, it's just my wage with 20 hours. So with 20 hours, we should still be able to pick up between 40 and 60 cases throughout the year, and still get that decent amount of kind of revenue from the class fees and the program fees, and still be able to kind of move stuff around and prepare for probably a bigger caseload that we were talking about, maybe in like the 100, 120 range, when we would maybe have the full-time work hours if I can get grants for it. So, and those grants start to kind of pop up and come in this month. They'll start announcing them, and then I start applying like November, December. And so this really does give me some of that time to work on the applications and making sure I can grab some of that.
And are you, in doing this, are you proposing moving this, money from your current budget into this budget, or you're proposing adding this, onto the budget?
So it'd be adding, because we couldn't move any of the state grant funds. They'd have to stay in the juvenile side of things. But me, Gary, we've talked about different ways we could maybe bring in some extra funds or sources, just kind of playing around and seeing what we could do to alleviate some of the added on to the budget, yeah.
So last night downstairs, we had a tax request hearing, and there was a number there that told us to stop spending.
Right.
Don't add, cut.
Mhm.
So it's really hard following that meeting to say, hey, you know what? We're gonna throw 25 more thousand onto the budget.
Right, and I get you, and I think in the long run, you guys wanted to see the results from adult
Yep.
diversion. And other counties that have had this for 20 plus years have seen the changes and the monies saved in different areas. And so I definitely understand the want not to add anything, and I think as minimum as this is, we can start to kick off a program that will start to show you guys we can save money from jailing expenses here, from probation expenses there, you know, kind of the stuff that we've talked about. And hopefully in the fiscal year 25, kind of subside these extra amounts by allowing me to apply for those grants. Because as of right now, I can only work on the juvenile side of things because it's all state funded and not on the county side of things.
Sure.
Yeah, so.
Any other questions for Tristan?
Well, there was also a comment of, yeah, we don't want to spend, but then it also the comment, if we don't invest in these kinds of programs, we're gonna have more of that expense where we're sending clientele, I guess, for lack of a better word, to other counties to support them when our jail's full. So it's kind of a balancing act of what's the right route to go.
Yep.
It doesn't mean it's not important, but it costs money to do these kind of programs. But if you could save money down the road, because it costs $1,300 a day or whatever in a month to send a person to Polk or wherever because they're incarcerated, how do you balance all that together?
And, you know, I just, with this budget and Gary and I just trying to find different ways to alleviate taxpayers. I mean, we definitely take the budget and the taxpayers' money as seriously as possible, and working for that middle line is definitely always my goal, and talking with other counties on how they raise budgets and then maybe get grants from different places within the county. That is always something I'm searching for, so.
I guess it's a hard, it's being that you're operating on a state-funded grant, it's hard to, cause I mean, I have no problem exploring the adult diversion and, you know, taking a look at it and seeing how it can help us. And so, you know, it's, being that you're funded from specific, sources that are directed towards specific activities, it's hard to, you know, pull you in another direction without, you know, giving you the resources to do that. I have no problem in doing a pilot program, so to speak, of adult diversion. The trouble I have is finding those funding to make that doable on this budget year. And so, I mean, yeah, I guess that's where we have to decide, okay, how much are we willing to throw at it to get it up and running?
Yeah, and just maybe to add that revenue on the bottom side of things, we're gonna have some of the class fees, the program fees that these clients are gonna make up some of the money that we're asking for. And I mean, already since we introduced the class fees in juvenile diversion, I mean, we've seen I think it's around 4,000, and that's minimum for juveniles. We're definitely gonna be working up for different things that will pull in and kind of have the adult clients pay a little more their way through the program than we would have juveniles, because it's just a different sense of the system. And so with the revenue that we should be able to pull from them participating in the program, and then coming up with anything else we can to alleviate the, maybe I think it's 15,000 that isn't covered from class, then that hopefully we can get down to maybe under the 10 if you're following, you know, where I'm going.
Right. On the juvenile side, if you're moving over, let's say if this would be approved and you're spending half your time on adult diversion, you have between you and Brennan, you would have enough bandwidth to handle the juvenile
yeah, we would, and
cases.
the good thing is we'll still get the allotted grant award that we have already been given for the fiscal year through the state grants. And so if I switched over, we could look at the possibility of adding like a part-time person to help a little, but I mean, with me and Brennan, our caseload right now, we do an amazing job of just working out where the high needs and the low needs and what time needs to be spent. So we haven't really been overwhelmed to the point of we're turning people away. So we definitely, can handle things that are coming towards us. Yeah.
And so you're projecting the 12,500 in diversion program fees. You're basing that on 40 to 50 cases.
Yeah.
And would there be any way to run a pilot program and you know, to show us kind of, okay, there's some, you know, these cases that we did take on were successful and whatnot, so if we would expand this could bring these the charges in the jail, et cetera, bring those down, probation, whatever it might be, and run the pilot program only off of expected program fees. So, you know, that, I mean, just kind of looking at your numbers here, that would, you know, that would have to be more like 10 hours rather than 20 in order to stay within that 12.5.
Right, and so I kind of went along with your thinking when I was figuring this out. Is 10 hours, that's kind of be devoted towards case management, meeting with the clients, figuring out their contracts, communicating community service and with other agencies, stuff like that. And then the other 10 would be turned towards the focus of grants. What can we do to change these program requirements or these systems to save more time, be more efficient, and make sure that we are looking at how to be effective next fiscal year.
Sure.
And so that's how I kind of split it up between. I don't think the class fees would per se cover 100% of 10 hours, but it'd be pretty close to that, and then that other would be allotted towards just figuring out what we can do for the future.
Well, I mean, I guess just being honest, I probably wouldn't be a vote for adding any more onto what we already are asking for on the budget. If you feel there's a way to run it off of the program fees to, see if it works for York County. I probably could be talked into giving some approval that way. That's kind of where I'm sitting right now.
So, most everything?
Yep.
So following on Daniel's concept, can you get a grant and then once the grant's in place, then move forward? Is there leeway in what you're receiving so you'd have enough time to make the applications in November, December, once the grants have won and then put into practice, then come back with this conversation again?
And so we could wait till if I could get grants and get them approved, it wouldn't kick in until next fiscal year. I don't think many state and federal grants do award anything during the middle. And so to have the time to spend on the applications and everything while also working with the diversion clients, it'd be difficult to coordinate all that with such limited time. We could, and I have been looking at talking with like different organizations in York to see if there's small grants that they could supply for curriculum or for incentives, the small program expenses that could help the program requirements, but not per se help alleviate man work hours. Yeah. So.
When we put Brennan on part-time last year, that was kickback money? Wasn't that like extra money from the crime commission, something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess at this point in time, I know that the conversation I had with you and Gary last week, obviously you guys are very passionate about this. And of course, my position too, is we are right at the end of the budget. For us to change the budget documents, there's an expense in that too, let alone to add that into it. Now, the only other way around it that I see is if the Board of Commissioners decided to, say, mid-year, somewhat similar to what we did with Brennan, is fund this from a different source. As you remember, Brennan, we funded out of miscellaneous for the first 6 months of that employment, and then once the grants kicked in, we did that. Personally, I would feel way more comfortable if I knew more information. More information on how we're going to fund this, how we're going to make it work. And I know that, like I say, I explained it to you at the end of last week. This really came along at the 9th, 10th hour of our budget, and wasn't much time to sit down and think. I know we talked about the child money too that possibly could be used, but that's got to be discussed. If we approve this in the budget, then in a sense the commissioners lose control at that point in time. It is there, it is yours to use. So I will not be for approving this into this year's budget. I would be for continuing to talk about it, continue to explain the program in more depth, and looking at this as being funded somewhere else for the first part of the year, maybe to piggyback with Daniel's idea of somewhat of a pilot program, if we found a little bit extra money to do so. But to give it just the go ahead and say, yes, I'm going to change my budget document, I'm going to change this and put that money in there. I'm not going to be on board for that. And a little bit of that, sends a signal too that we really need to look at our budget process. And, this should have been a May conversation, possibly a June conversation. It sure shouldn't have been an August, 1st of September style of conversation to get this put in there. I think it has merit, and obviously it's proven in a lot of areas, but it just is, it's a timing for me, and it's just another expenditure, no matter how we look at it. Even if we take the funds out of inheritance, it's still an expenditure above what we're doing. So does anybody else have any more comments or
Well, I do.
feelings? Or Stan, go ahead.
I would like to see more Yeah, it's interesting, we should probably do it, maybe not, I'm on the fence. But I'd like to see more information about how your juvenile diversion is working. What are the results? How, is it, are you negative in some areas or positive or whatever? How much are we helping and how much is not working? I just need more information.
Yeah, definitely, and I think, you know, along the lines of maybe doing something mid-year or something, all that I would say to keep in mind is we gotta make sure we stay, maybe like November, December, and a lot of those applications start becoming due, and so that's just something that maybe in future conversations we'll have, but.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, so I did put this on here as discuss and act. What's your pleasure?
Do you want an,
As it
like
pertains to the budget document that's in front of us today, is what I'd
Okay.
like to know.
Sure. Well, I guess, let's see, how do we want to word this? At this, for the purposes of the 2023, 2024 budget, I would make a motion that we not include adult diversion. Is that how you'd want that worded?
Yes. But I think you can add to it that we want to keep to investigate the program itself.
So let's add to that motion that we would ask the diversion coordinator to continue investigation and conversation with the board for a future program.
Second.
Thank you. Well, we had one, but that's all right. We can double second it.
Oh, well.
Any other discussion?
Who's second, Fair?
Stand at it first, Jeff. Roll call.
Gross.
Yes.
Fair?
Yes.
Ziegler?
Yes.
Sykes?
Yes.
And Owen.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Tristan, for all your work on that. Maddie, do you have time yet?
Yes.
I assume Region, okay, let's do the Region 5 rebranding. If you would like to step forward and name and address, if you would, when you get done handing, you have stuff to hand out?
Yes. So let's see if each one of you want to take a packet. My name is Michelle Schultz. I am the Chief of Staff for Region 5 Services. And address, you said?
That'd be fine.
3600 Union Drive, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay, thank you.
I'm here today to just kind of go over where we came from with the rebranding of Region 5 Services. This has been in process for the last year to year and a half. And if you look at that first page, you can see where we are one of the last of the developmental disability providers in the regions to change to a different name. If you notice the behavioral health oversight, they have stayed with the regional names. We did a intense study with Kid Glove, who is a provider in Lincoln. There were various reach outs and things sent out so that people could give feedback on what went into a name. The way that they came up with the name APACE was going next to side-by-side pathways. This was approved by the governing board at the last meeting. And so what I'm doing is just bringing the interlocal agreement. The point of that is it hadn't been reviewed since 1974. And so actually it's not even accurate now. The name of Region 5 Services is not on that interlocal agreement. And so we wanted to actually bring that and have it be accurate. The vote is to adopt the wishes of the governing board vote. Let's see. Was there any questions that you had? What could I answer?
I think the only question that somebody had asked me is why this is on the agenda, and there wasn't somebody from the board, but it was somebody from the public, and I told them, and I couldn't name all the counties, but they're right here in front of me, is because we're a member county.
Yes.
Of Region 5 services, and like we are of other interlocal agreements, and it has to go through all of those counties to get approval. And I think the question was, well, what if you guys say no? And it's like, well, I suppose it's that as long as the majority say yes, it's approved, but I don't know why we would say no in that respect. So that's the
Yes.
only question I had anybody asking me.
The Region 5 services name, a couple of things happen with that. Services and systems get confused all the time. So we have people who come to our office who have used their last dime or bus fare to get to our office after being released from somewhere, and they don't have a home to go to. And then we have to send them somewhere else. We get calls every day. There's a lot of confusion between services and systems. Systems is not changing their name, which I actually think will be clarifying for people. It's also kind of a look back to more of an institutional type service when you look at parents and families who don't necessarily know who we are. They think of the regional center, they think of us taking control, they think of that institutional Region 5 services. Either they don't know who we are, or they think it's a 50-year tradition, which we appreciate, but it gives more of that not human services caring type of a vibe to it. I've actually been with Region 5 for 29 years, and today, actually. And so when this first got brought up, I was pretty hesitant. I was like, hold on, this has been 50 years, and this is how I've always known it. But I also see where there's a lot more competition in the market, and people can be attracted to some of those newer names and those newer things. And this name change actually really fits with what we do with the side-by-side and meeting people where they are. And so I ended up getting pretty excited about it. I think it really will help us to stand out both in the job market and just in the high competition of providers. If you voted against it, I believe, as you said, we would still continue. The governing board has approved this. It would just be with a doing business as a DBA. So it'd be Region 5 Services doing business as a PACE. What we wanted was to actually get that interlocal agreement to actually say what it's supposed to. I forget what the 1974 one says. It's something along the lines of Region 5 Community something Health. And so the name has actually changed twice since then, but nobody updated the actual interlocal agreements so that they would be correct. And so when they were doing this and the lawyers went through it, they came up with, gee, it would be really nice if you could actually get that interlocal agreement to look correct and to be updated. So it's a pretty simple amendment, but we just wanted to actually do it right.
So we have actually two things that we need to have a resolution in front of us, and then we also have for the name change.
Yes, but I believe, yes. So I think it's just this interlocal agreement needing to be signed off.
Yeah, there's a resolution for the county board and then a first amendment to the.
Yes.
Their Region 5 Community Human Services Program. And since then it changed to Region 5 Mental Retardation Services, which then changed to Region 5 Services. So we've gone through a couple name changes, but nobody actually went through the detail type work.
Okay. So to clarify though, do you need the resolution approved too? Or just the the amendment?
That is a top 10 question.
I would think that,
I think
that we would need to do both.
Both.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want them separate?
I think we probably should, just to give clarification, adopt the resolution first.
So I would make a motion that we adopt a resolution regarding the Region 5 services name change to a PACE.
Thank you, Daniel. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Brooks,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
and O'Brien.
Yes, and then the second one is the amendment to update the interlocal agreement and to get all that in order.
So move.
Thank you, Daniel.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Brooks,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
and O'Brien.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
coming out
so
today.
much.
One more question.
Yes.
You said you used Kid Glove to help you with this process. We've been talking budget a lot around
Yes.
here lately.
Yes.
Just
What kind of fee
There
is
was a
involved to have them walking through
He
the
already signed
process
that
to
one, so
rename
I
Region
didn't
5?
do that.
I am pretty sure it was 20,000.
this one then.
That might be in one of the forms, but I'm sure that's what I saw was 20,000. And they did a tremendous amount of work. Lynn Weinman is actually just amazing, and the implementation that she did, the presentations that she gave, the insight that they had with sending out the polls to families, staff, governing board, taking all that information, using actual statistics, finding out what we really do, going in depth, and then matching a name that fits what we do that we could really be proud of.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Maddie.
We're up.
Do we need another chair?
I would flip that somehow. All right, so we're on the agenda to talk.
Names, please.
Name. Maddie Hughes with Zell HR,
Kate Avendroth with Zell HR.
Thank you.
and you need our address.
You can throw in the office address if you want.
3606 South 48th Street. I don't know the zip code. So we are on the agenda to talk about a comp study and what that would look like for York County. But while I was here too, I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on how things have been going as well before I hand that off to Kate. I work with Cheryl very closely, and your department heads have been phenomenal to work with. There are some instances in counties where elected officials aren't as open to working with an HR professional. It just depends on that person, the elected official, or the department head. And I have been pleasantly surprised with the openness to work with us, and I think that we've been able to make a lot of impact already with numerous departments. So wanted to throw that in there, and then of course also let you guys know that if you ever have any questions on what I'm working on or what we are doing, you're more than welcome to reach out to me and get more information too. So with that, Kate is the compensation guru, so I will hand it off to her.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having us this morning. Compensation in counties is sort of a unique project, solely because we have lots of different avenues that we can go down. Compensation is a buzz in every organization, industry, size, doesn't really matter. The way that we pay our people is really important. We've worked with compensation in lots of counties in Nebraska. The thing about compensation is there's no right way. It has to work for your county essentially. So there's a handful of different ways that we can go about it. I will preface that as a partner of NACO, we are working with NACO on a compensation analysis to be launched in June. I do have Candace and John's blessing to tell you guys that. I know you have a district meeting coming up. They plan to talk to you guys more about it then. But what that compensation study will be for information for all 93 counties. But the thing that other counties won't get is the relationship that we already have with you to be able to implement that information essentially. The question really is do we want to do our own compensation study for York County now in this time frame, or would we want to wait until that's launched and what that looks like? We can do either. It's totally up to however elected officials, the board, whoever wants to decide that can do it essentially.
I think, what brought this about is, the wage talk is always the highlight of our budget.
Yep.
And having that information prior to the budget year next year would be nice and helpful.
Yep.
To know where we're at. That's when I visited with Maddie, and she said, yeah, that Zelle could provide that service to us.
Yeah.
And obviously it talked about that during our budget workshops, and to get that information and get that information out. So not only our employees, but the public knows it too, because,
Right,
that is the transparency of what we do is everybody knows what we pay and those, hit the paper. So I guess personally, I would like to see it, let's get going, move forward with it. If this, as Maddie said, is part of our contract that we have with Zelle. I know that she talked a little bit about possibly Platte County, I believe, or somebody had just done one too. And then, to me, that's interesting because maybe we can look at theirs, compared to ours. I guess, the question I have is what type of parameters, when we look at county government, do you look at solely county government, city government, political subdivisions? Do you look at who's in our area? How far out do you go? Things like that. Is that something that you just take off and run with, or do we have a subcommittee made up of the county to work with you on stuff like that?
Yeah, those are all really great questions. So to start with, we would determine what our scope wants to look like. Who do we want to compare ourselves to? Is it other counties who are similar size to us? Is it geographical region? Who are we, losing employees to? Is it our surrounding area? Are people commuting? What does that look like? So it's sort of, asking those questions, but ultimately we can look at compensation in all of those regards. We can look at it from county to county. We can look at it from local businesses. We can look at it from surrounding area. All of that information is readily available to us. We have a partnership with PayScale. We pay for a compensation tool with them. Essentially, we put in our compensable factors, region, size of organization, what type of education someone has, any licenses, things of that nature. We put it into PayScale, and then anyone who's ever reported to PayScale, however they meet those compensable factors, we pull a report essentially. We've used this across all types of businesses and industries. It is a fantastic tool. We can do that in partnership with county information as well. So whether it's Platte County, whether it's other counties that are similar to York size, whatever it can be. Ultimately, it's up to this group of people to determine. Well, we have seen that a subcommittee of the board is typically the people that we like to work with. We feel like you guys have really great insight. We feel like your, county budget mind helps us to ensure that, we're on the same page as you when it comes to that, to make sure we know what your compensation goals are. What percentile do you want to be at? The 25th percentile is lagging in the market, 50th is meeting, and 75th is leading. You as a county, where do you want to be? Is it that 25th percentile? Is it somewhere in the middle, 37.5? Those are all things we want to determine with you. What are our goals? Do we have, a county minimum that anyone with a high school diploma who's qualified for a job meets the criteria of a role? We have, no one will make less than $13 an hour or whatever it may be. In talking about compensation, Nebraska's minimum wage is increasing over the next 3 years, and we have to keep in mind the compression that that's gonna, impose on our current compensation. So creating a plan with a subcommittee is really important too. So ultimately, that's where we start, is we ask a lot of questions, we get to the bottom of it, and then we basically just run with that information, and we do all the work. Essentially, we come back as a group, reconvene, and then go from there to figure out, are we meeting our goals? Where do we need to be? What does budget look like for next year? All of those sorts of things.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
Is this part of our current contract with Zell? So it's not an add-on expense or anything? It's
Correct,
just
it
you're
is.
expanding what your service.
Correct, it is part of your current contract, yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think everything that's been mentioned, I think is right in line with what we want to find out. And I don't know where we'll fall in the 25th, 50th, 75th, and I don't know that we know where we want to be, and I suppose we don't want to be in the 25th, but I don't know, if we want to just let them run and get started, or if we need to form a committee, or...
I'd say we have some more conversations with them. I don't know if you'll be around any longer today, or if you're just in and out today. I know your Thursday is every other Thursday compared to our meeting is when you'd be around.
Yep.
And to me, have some conversations and look to kick this off in the next month or so and see how it goes as far as that's concerned. I would think, unless the board had any other discussions about this or wills or wants, we play an integral part in the budget, so I would assume that we would do that now that the budget will be, put behind us, and give us just a little bit of break, and then jump into it, because there's like I say, there's going to be a lot of questions that we'll come up with over the next few weeks. But we can have that discussion, but I think that for now, whatever you need to do on your end to get geared up for it, and then we shoot for maybe a month out to sit down and talk, whether we need to do that at a next board meeting or, a couple board meetings away, or whether we just move, but I think we just continue those discussions. Seeing how it's already part of the, services that we pay for, which was a great attribute that did make my day when I heard that.
Well, after that spiel, you know why I brought Kate, because she explains it very well, and it's very impactful for any organization that we do this for. Just feel like you have a little bit more control of where you're at, where you need to be, where you're going. So, and just to keep good people here at York County. That's the goal.
Yeah, typically that, brings up a lot of other conversations too with a subcommittee in regards to benefits and, increases and all of those conversations in regards to compensation as a total package. And so it's good to have those conversations with you all too, to figure out, what your current practices are, where you want to go, how you differentiate yourself, things of that nature too. So usually the beginning of this, again, is a lot of questions, but we always get to the bottom of it and we create a really good plan, and feel like the rollout of it, the communication, the transparency too, with everybody here just helps with buy-in too, so.
And I think when we do get rolling, even though there would be possibly me and Daniel as sitting in the meeting, obviously we can't have more than the two, but I think the communication needs to be with the whole board throughout that whole time too. So anything that we're communicating with everybody, so everybody knows the pace we're in. The other point that I forgot, main reason I want to get going for us is, NACO in the past has put out these things, has compared us to other counties. And we really need to see, because we're typically not losing our employees to other counties. They're usually going someplace else in the private sector or coming to us. So that's what I really want to see is, our locale, how we match up to everybody else.
Absolutely, yep, which is typically what we hear, and that's something that we talk about often is county to county is apples to apples, but you're really losing people to the oranges, and so it's trying to figure out how we compare ourselves to apples and oranges, which is always the fun part.
Okay, anything else this morning?
The only comment, I guess, and I think you alluded to this, like, we've been calling it a wage study. You came in and called it a compensation plan. You look at holidays, paid holidays, vacation, benefits, and your hourly wage.
COLAs, merit increases, do people get bonuses? What does that look
Yeah.
like? Do we pay for education? Do we pay for, whatever it may be? What does that all look like from a total package
Sure.
perspective?
Perfect.
Yeah.
There's
Thank you.
studies out there that talk about job satisfaction. It's more than salary, it's more than benefits, it's involvement, it's ownership, it's participation,
Supervisor?
all of that elements. You're looking at that along with this whole package or not?
No. From this standpoint, it is really compensation, benefits, how your philosophy is planned, executed, and planned for the future. When it comes to satisfaction of employees, that would be a different project essentially. There's a lot of research out there, and so polling your current employees is absolutely something that we can do. But research mostly says the top two reasons, right, people leave is their supervisor or their pay. And so I know that Maddie works with all of their supervisors and knows how that all works. And so if that were something that needed to be worked on, then we would. But ultimately, compensation is number two reason why people leave. So looking at this is also really important.
Thank you.
Yeah, and appreciated by employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you this morning, ladies.
Yeah, Randy, I'll get in touch with you and
What?
Just a quick thing, if you would indulge me for a moment. First off, I can't say enough about Zell. It was a wise decision of the board to enter into an agreement with them. We have a vacancy in our office right now. They've been great working with them, trying to get the resume right, or get the application right, get the wording right, and the job description and the ad and everything. Doing the interview, we had an interview this last week. It was a great experience. So I appreciate their help, because I'm not an HR guy, so I appreciate their help with that. Second, moving forward with this study, as someone that will be supervising folks that will be impacted by this study, and there's other of us in this building as well, I wouldn't say we all need to be involved, but at least some sort of communication with us where we're at in the process, I think would be nice, because while the board, ultimately it's up to you guys to approve it, we're the ones that have to implement it and work with it on a daily basis. So, and I understand your side of it too from the budget standpoint, and I think it's good to get out in front of it. Because like you said, NACO sees it up here, but then we have to work with it at this level down here, so.
Yeah, obviously, it's gonna be communicated to everybody where we're at and what's going on. I can see that throughout this whole thing.
yeah, absolutely. We'll keep that transparency. That's very important.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us.
To discuss an act.
I'm sorry.
To discuss an act.
Okay, Daniel, it was on a discuss and act, so let's
Okay.
have a motion before we study. Sorry to pick on you, Daniel.
That's all right. We'll make a motion to move forward with a compensation study with Zale.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Stan. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
and Over.
Yes. Okay. Derek, I thought I seen him come in before. We got a few minutes before our 10 o'clock. We did not have any paperwork ourselves. Derek, do you have
I've
anything?
got one copy here I can bring up. I'm confused on what all I needed if I needed to submit anything ahead of time.
Okay, all right.
That one, we'll discuss it here in a second, I suppose.
Go ahead and sit down and name and address for the record, and then you can explain it as we look through this.
All right, Derek Keller with Blended Distilling, 1420 Road N, Suite D, York, Nebraska here, 68467. What I'm coming in today for is approval to bring my product out to Wessel's Farm for an adult 21 over event. It's adult Blue at the Farm. October 6th, 5 o'clock till, we put it till about midnight. I'm hoping it's done a little before that. We'll have Billy's grilled cheese there to make sure there's some food to go with it. We'll be using our barn, and then they have a concrete slab to the south of it that will be extending just a kind of a rope perimeter to help secure it, keep people in that area. I was talking with Genevieve, and she'll be able to bring Billy's up there to where it's roped off with him inside. That way, everything's kind of contained in that area. It's the day before the Blue at the Farm for children. That it kind of gives like a little break-in for adults. That she's doing a vehicle charge to help encourage people to carpool and come together. That way, it's a little safer. Better chance of designated drivers, a little more responsibility, stuff like that. So we're encouraging that with a vehicle charge rather than person charge. Drinks are also I'll charge for those. It's not included with anything. It's separate. That way, you're not going in there planning on going wild and crazy with it. But we want to make sure that's a fun time, something for adults. We check IDs as they get there, make sure, like I say, it's a 21 over event.
So the whole crowd that's gonna be there is gonna be 21 adults?
Yes. Yep. The only confusion we were having was where to go for approval on it. Apparently this is the first time we've ever come to the county commissioner meeting for an approval form, from what I understood, but they're not in the city jurisdiction. So my guess was if a catering company is located in the city limits, they might go through the city. But whenever I was doing all my research, I had to get approval through you guys, so.
Yeah, and for future reference, if you just turn in, like when you asked to be on the agenda, turn in the application so we have that information ahead of time. This is a one-day event, obviously,
Correct.
so you're just doing it for a one-day special occasion. And it does take the approval of the governing body of that jurisdiction, which is fine. I think we've done this in the past. It's been a few years. They had something out there. It seemed to me it was
Yeah, I can't remember. Was it wedding?
Polka or something or
maybe.
something or something. It's been a
I
few
know
years. It was prior to
catering companies have a
COVID.
difference whenever they get their approvals. I'm only allowed 6 SDLs, which is what this form is for, is an SDL, special designated license, just so I can be outside of my property. I only get 6 a year, so I said that's probably why they're not as common as nonprofits get 6. So, they'll use theirs for some occasions, but weddings and that are done by the catering company.
Which has a liquor.
They don't have restrictions because they're always moving locations, so.
Okay, any other questions of Derek this morning?
Yeah, I see on the second page of this, it says area will be patrolled 21 plus event.
Right.
Staff detail will be patrolling area both in and around the event site.
Correct.
Does this include law enforcement?
We are talking to some about volunteering, but with them, I don't want to say they're short staffed, but with their staff size being as small as it is, they don't want to designate people strictly for that. It'd be, through the sheriff's station, since outside of jurisdiction. Otherwise, like I say, with checking IDs beforehand, the biggest concern would have been underage drinking and patrolling for that. With this, we'll have about 3 volunteers, myself included, Genevieve. We have one other that said they would with volunteer work. It's always a gamble. I do have some local PD that might come out to help volunteer, but again, it's not I can't say it's law enforcement because it's outside their jurisdiction.
So it'd be by your staff then?
Correct.
The patrolling would be by your staff?
Your staff won't have the authority to make an arrest?
That is correct.
Well,
Which,
then that's
with
what I was
that,
talking about, law enforcement.
Right, and they will be notified that there's an event there. On the same note, you also don't want to cause that friction of them just sitting out there waiting, trying to cause an incident on the same note.
Policemen don't cause the incident.
gauzy appearance that can add to struggles. But yes, I agree. I have worked really hard with law enforcement. I get a lot of law enforcement to come out. I've made good stand-ins with them, so I don't have any hatred towards law enforcement. I encourage it. But on the same note, you don't want them there pressuring people like they can't go and do something. Again, that is why we want to do carpooling. We want to encourage the safety and responsibility. But as far as jurisdiction, no. Most law enforcement now don't want to designate people to an event unless it affects their budget. Like the York County Fair, that affects their budget, they're out there. It's, I don't want to say paid for by it, but it affects them a lot more. You can try to say that this is Wessel's, it's a public area, but it's privately owned, it's a nonprofit organization, so therefore it's on a more of a private property, so they can't really be on there taking their time and.
But the license is a state license, is it not?
That is correct.
All right.
And that is why we're working with what we can. I haven't notified that way, hey, we're having issues, we need you to send somebody. They're aware of an event going on, but they're not gonna designate staff to be up there.
Any other questions of Derek today?
Well, if something bad happens, are we legally liable as a board?
The only one liable would be me. My license would be liable because I'm the one on the permit with the alcohol. And then that would also depend on the case of incident that would happen, depending on what we're referring to. I mean, with any liquor, even at my establishment, I can't serve somebody that appears intoxicated. So if their appearance is, you know, they appear like they're already having too much, I have to cut them off regardless. So therefore it's, I don't want to say it base by base, depends on how people can handle their alcohol. Again, I will also be charging per drink, so every time I swipe the card, if they've already purchased one, it will tell me on my machine that, hey, you already bought some. Helps me double check, make sure they're appearing all right, doing all right. Even if they have a driver, I can't serve them if they appear intoxicated. So.
And to my knowledge, this is, as Jack stated, this is a state-issued permit. So R is a formality, a recommendation to the state that it goes in and they actually issue the permit.
That is correct. So after this, I submit it to the state and they have, I have to give them 10 days to review and approve it.
And usually they mail the liquor license back to me and then.
Correct. And then I have to figure it out from you. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions? What's your wishes? I'd move for approval of the special designated license for Blended Distill LLC to host an event October 6th, 2023 at Wessel's Living History Farm.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion around this? Roll call.
Overmeyer.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Bear.
No.
Ziegler.
No.
And Sykes.
No.
Okay, we will fill that out. You'll send it in and we'll go from there. Thank you. Okay, next up, we are right at 10 o'clock. Eric, if you would like to move forward. For the record, we held a public hearing on the special use permit or a conditional permit for Eric Montgomery, and that was 2 meetings ago. We held it. Unfortunately, Eric was not able to attend, but we went ahead and held that public. At that time, there was one comment, and it was in favor of this. We also know that the board, planning commission had met and voted in favor unanimously of this. I do not believe at that time they had any special conditions, Nate, on their deal. So Eric, name and address, and if you would explain it just a little bit for
Eric
us.
Montgomery, 1717 Road 12 in York, Nebraska. Basically, we're planning on building a guest house. We've been blessed with some inheritance, and we wanted to have somewhere we're very active in church, want somewhere for missionaries if they need a month or two respite to be able to stay. Of course, family, if they're coming too, they'll be able to stay there also. Luckily, our property has an extra transformer there already on a pole, an extra well. It was, when we started thinking about it, and we were just like, this would be really neat if we could do it. So I put in for a permit. I was worried about getting another loan at the new interest rates, and then I talked to the title people, and they said, that's not a big deal. You can rezone it, do all that stuff. So that's why I initially put in for the special use, to have another property or another house on that property. Now I think it's more of whatever you guys want me to do. If you want me to rezone it or survey it, that's fine with me. It's more just whatever I need to do to get her done.
Okay. Any questions of Eric this morning?
I did, after our public hearing, I don't remember, there might have been one comment at the public hearing. I did receive a phone call that encouraged denying the application because they said there's rules in place for reasons, and there's one house per 40. Other than that, I didn't have any.
Okay.
And it is only pasture. It's not prime land to farm. I'm sure my neighbor will still graze cows around the house every year. And so,
well, Eric, as you know, and if everybody knows where the property's at, it's east of town, 3-4 miles. It's 20 acres. It usually actually set a different way prior to your ownership, and then it was the 20 acres was switched to go east-west instead of the north-south that it was. What I would like to see is, because, in my mind, I know that you're talking about a guest house, you're talking about a second home for maybe family members or traveling pastors or whoever it may be, is still a second home. And to me, it should be separate, which would mean by, our zoning rules, it would need to be at least a couple acres. I would feel that the condition I would put on it is it needs to be standalone, meaning own water, own sewer, own electricity, which you'd said there's a second transformer there. And then if it was plotted to be its own, because unfortunately someday I won't be here, and no matter how long you're gonna live, you won't be there either. And it would be separate that way. It wouldn't be two homes on the same piece of property. So that would be the condition that I would like to see put on it. I don't know what the rest of the board feels about it, but I would just feel better about that. Knowing the lay of the land, knowing what it is, it becoming farm ground doesn't seem like it's a possibility. With the sand pit behind it and you name it there. So that's what I would like to see. Any other comments?
I guess I have a problem, whether it's split off or not. I'm sure I have an opinion either way on that part of it.
it would likely be 4 or 5 acres, I would assume, if I cut the shed off of it where it's at or something, but we probably wanna, probably just leave the shed in there actually, because the well's right next to that too, so I know water rights can be an issue if the property doesn't have water rights to whatever it's pumping from, so. Just cut the corner of the rectangle off, or the edge of the rectangle off there, when they survey it, so.
Clarification, did you want then, would your condition be to make that one parcel 2 parcels? Is that
Yes.
your line? Okay. Then that means we need to get the surveyor involved, or a surveyor involved to
Yes,
make that work.
he would have to do that.
Just so everyone's,
Property owner would have to do that,
just
yes.
so everyone's clear on how that works.
Just
Any-
review zoning, approve this, recommended this.
Yes, they had 2 that night that they worked with, and we already approved the one, earlier, like I say, a couple meetings ago, when we had the public hearings. That one was obviously a different
Right.
incident. A house was going up and a house was going away. Here, there's a house going up
Yeah,
and
and this
gonna
is
be both of them.
permanent, you know, it's gonna be a small house with a garage attached, so.
I would like to see it like you said, 2 parcels.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I agree with what you had said about splitting the property up so that if sold, it can be sold separate. And no conditions connecting the two.
Okay.
And the zoning has already approved this, correct?
Zoning board approved 5-0, there were no special recommendations or conditions that they gave, they just said to approve it as is. But again, you guys haven't seen add conditions that you feel fit.
Like you said, I mean, or like I said, what you said, having it split, I don't know that I care either way. Having it split does, like, right now, the way that it's been proposed is a guest house, not a permanent residence, where splitting it does, it's very easy to turn it into a permanent residence. Again, I don't know that I necessarily care either way, but that is a condition of that condition. You know, and again.
And we can call it whatever we like,
Right.
it's still a house that's
Right,
gonna be
exactly.
a permanent structure on that piece of
It's
property.
not a
Yeah.
trailer.
Undoubtedly.
Not on wheels.
And knowing Eric, it's gonna be very nice and it's gonna work out.
I've got my chief architect drawings if anybody wants to.
I'm just thinking about the future, you know, that, you know, it's gonna be there and then at least we've covered that base.
Sure.
Yeah, and like I said, ultimately, I was just put in for the special use because I was worried about having to get us, like, is the loan company on my current property that I've got 2% interest on gonna make me refinance and do something weird? But I talked to the title company and they're like, no, you don't, if you're just paying for the house, you don't have to redo anything with the current loan. So that was really my biggest worry with interest rates going up so much. I thought I was gonna have to do some refinancing at a higher rate.
Okay.
If you know my business, I look at that stuff a lot. So.
Yeah. Any other comments?
Well, with approval of the zoning committee, I would make a motion that we grant his application
With any special conditions?
with the conditions you just brought up. Yes.
So the condition would be that it would be zoned, it would meet the zoning rules by having a minimum of 2 acres and be plotted as a separate.
Separate
property.
Also having its own water, own sewer, own electricity hookups, own entrance, which it does, so. You good with? That
I'm
sounds
good
great
with
to
that,
you,
yes.
Jack? Okay. I would second it. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Sykes,
Yes.
Overmeyer,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
and Ziegler.
Yes.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
All my X's, did we forget anything?
Last two resolutions.
Okay, we have two things to do. Discuss and act on the resolution of adoption and appropriations of the budget for 23-24. Discuss and act on the resolution setting the property tax request are the two items we have left. Prior to jumping into the first one, as Daniel stated earlier, we had our property tax ask meeting, or as others would call it, the postcard meeting last night. We had roughly 30 of our bosses in the room last night. You know, we did what state statute said to do. We had the postcard meeting, we gave them the information, we accepted comments, but just shortly into it, we realized that there was more questions to be asked, so we were there for roughly another hour answering the questions the best that we could do. We obviously took some body blows last night about the budget, and I would say, and this is not in any way bragging, but when people show up to hearings like that, they know a little bit, and the main thing they know is that the final number is what they don't like. I would say that the members of this board know the operations of the county, the budget, and everything better than probably anybody else in the room, and that's not meant in, you know, a derogatory way towards the people in the room, but we just do. It's just a fact that we know, and I know that budget is angst to some, but I think that we worked on a good budget for York County. We did some trimming, even though that number doesn't look right, and maybe if you learn by mistakes, dumping what we did last year from inheritance into it created that larger number. There was a request last night that we continue to do so, but obviously that's not a long-range plan. That's not a plan that will sustain long range, and then sooner or later, that 6.87 would be a lot larger number, and then here we are again. So, but I did appreciate what members of our county family did show up last night. It would have been nice to have more there to hear more of the comments that were made. But like I say, we got through it. I think it worked well. This first time we had to go through it. Will it be the last? Won't know. I mean, it's hard to say where everything goes. I guess I did miss seeing other political subdivisions there. We were there last year when a couple of them were in the hot seat, and this year we got to sustain that hot seat by ourselves with nobody else around. So that's where we're at.
But the conversation afterwards, we did the procedural kind of thing, but the conversation to be able to let them express their frustrations, their limitations, the challenges they're facing, all of that gives us an insight in terms of, this isn't just a cut and dried, mark that on a piece of paper, change the number and go forward. No, this is affecting people's lives and their livelihood and the challenges that they're facing, and it's tough times.
It is. It is. And as Senator Hughes pointed out in her article today in the York News Times, you know, we look at our budget, we look at what it's costing them. You know, we do tend to forget about the state has stepped up, and there's some kickback from their money, which is sales tax money, in form of property tax relief. So, you know, not to say that should make it right for us to raise ours, but there is that element in there that we tend to forget too. It's a big convoluted thing. And I think you're right, Woody, that some clarification. I'd be willing to have those conversations again, but until they receive that little pink postcard that I see Jack's got on his deal, we don't get them to show up. We had the 2 budget hearings, and you know, and maybe we try something different. I don't know, but you know, standing there and answering questions is it's not a bad thing.
Right.
You know, I think it went well. I had conversations after the conversation that went well too. I think.
Well, my overview of the whole evening was fantastic. I mean, you did a great job. Fantastic job presenting and organizing the whole thing and explaining the statutes, and to have comments and then questions and answers later, and they caught on. The comments were comments, and they were good comments, heartfelt comments. And sometimes a comment became a question, but it's just kind of normal to happen. But mostly they were comments, and they were great comments, and we could feel their heart. We could feel their feelings on it. And so, and they responded positively. Way you set it up in a real nice positive way, and the audience responded in the same way, in a really positive way. So it was a great meeting, the way I saw it. And then when the questions came, you know, we felt their pain and answered the best you could. And it's a great meeting. And going into it, I didn't know if it would be that good, but I felt good about it afterwards. It's good for us and good for them. And overall, everybody acted really professionally.
Yeah, I never see that so much around here. I mean, I know we hear the horror stories elsewhere, but the crowd in York County usually is very civil, you know, and I think everybody treats everybody like, say, professionally, and we go through that process. But yeah, it was good. You know, all in all, I think it was good. Yeah, we went as long as they wanted to go.
And it wasn't really accusatory, it was just, tell us why this happened. 6%, 6.5%, that's a big number. What's going on? Well, we've learned that you don't use inheritance monies to pay for a bill that's gonna continue on and on and on. And you're gonna run out of that, it doesn't work. We've learned from that, we're not gonna do that. But we also learned, okay, you're hurting, so there's a request for another program. We put it on hold, we're not doing that yet. We responded to the input that was there last night. That's part of what that whole meeting was about.
Additionally, the tax request, the way Nebraska is set up is terrible. So dependent on property tax. Maybe it was good 100 years ago. Maybe it worked great 100 years ago, but it doesn't work good now. And they tried to, and we weren't here alive then, so we don't know. But in the late 60s and 70s, they tried to take care of, there was a lot of angst too then about property tax. They tried to take care of it with a sales tax. And it didn't help, you know, significantly. And so here we're still in a mess with high property tax because, you know, if my brother and I lived together, or separate, side by side, and I would make my income from professional work, and he would make his income from a business, he would be paying property tax on his business and on his home. I'd only be paying property tax on my home. It's not fair.
Right.
But that's where we're at.
Yeah, as I joked last night, just a little bit, you know, and maybe it's a little bit of a joke, but maybe I really feel it. And, you know, let us use the sales tax.
Right.
And you take the property tax and you know, deal with that part of it and see how we go. Let's just switch teams for a while and we'll see, because we know by the results of what the city gets in, the sales tax is very possible.
Well, that's one thing Nebraska really screwed up on, is putting a city sales tax in, because it should have been a county sales tax. Because the county supports the city sales tax and doesn't get a benefit out of it. That's where the real mess is.
And now you're down to
In my
39
opinion.
people making the decision that gets handed out to 93 counties and not having a full picture sometimes of the long range implications of that decision.
But we're at where we're at.
So first up, we do have a discuss and act resolution to adopt appropriations of the budget for 23-24. And this is setting that budget as that final document that we have.
I don't
Go
have,
ahead.
that's the document, but I'll have to give it a resolution number and before everybody can sign it.
Right. And that means once we approve it, then the budget is set for 23-24.
We have to live with it.
We have to live with it, but we also know that once we approve the budget of all elected officials, it is their budget at that point in time. And as long as there's funds there to expend, they can expend it.
So do you need a motion to adopt?
Adopt a resolution.
I move to adopt the resolution on the appropriation of budget.
Thank you, Stan.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Bear.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Rhodes.
Yes.
And Overmeyer.
Yes. Next up is resolution setting the property tax request.
These are the numbers that Jill sent me to fill that one out.
General fund, $7,394,848. Debt service, $874,000, and ambulance, $333,579. Four pieces of the pie that make up the 0.232439 per $100 assessed value. And that is a resolution also.
I move the resolution to accept the property tax request.
Thank you, Stan.
Second.
Thank you, Jack. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bear.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Rhodes.
Yes.
And Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay, thank you for all who was involved.
Okay.
We are done for a year. And like I say, it was a tougher one. I see a tougher one next year too. I really do. Especially as we talked last night, you know, the governor wants more people at our meetings, and that's fine. We can get a bigger place and have a bigger meeting. I don't have a problem with that. But I think it happens at the state too. I mean, those meetings need to take place for those 49 up there too. We are the closest group to the people, but we should stay close to our state senators and that. So that being said, other than committee reports, we are at the end of our agenda unless I miss something. At some point, I would like to go meet with Cal before we adjourn, and I didn't want to recess because we'll stay as a group. And Cal has done some research on the south side of the courthouse about closing that in and where the bays are. And he's got some preliminary numbers that look like it's going to cause it to be more of a bid system, a sealed bid system. So I would like him to explain that to us at that point. So, but we can do committee reports first in case some of our guests don't want to walk with us. Is that what you're going to touch on? Or do you want to touch on something else?
Was there something that we needed to do in a exec session? I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about that during committee reports.
Okay.
I think that.
You know, Randy, just a comment here if I can.
Okay.
You know, people are not happy with the budget, with the raise in our budget, but that comes from all the way up. The inflation is what's causing this for everybody. And we have to stay with what we can do. But unless that stops, we're gonna keep going up. You commented on that next year being the same kind of thing. And it probably will be as long as inflation keeps going like that. But when you pay so much more of a percentage for food to feed your family and everything, that's where it starts. And yeah, we have to have motor graders and we have to have stuff done. And I'm one that believes in people being able to use their property the way they want to. So it's their property. That's all I have.
Do you have any committee report while you're talking?
Oh, while I'm yakking. I see she was here, but she's gone. We were gonna talk about appointing people on the aging building, on the aging committee.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be on the agenda, and I think, Laura, you didn't get it on the agenda,
Okay.
so we can't talk about it. But we do need to appoint some people on the aging. That we can bring it up at the next meeting.
October 3rd.
Yeah,
Okay.
no problem.
Anything else? Okay.
No.
Woody, you got anything?
Well, let's see. This last couple of weeks, I've been to the York County GOP meeting, talked about the EPIC option update, so that was informative. I also went to a GOP thing on Focus on Kids, just talking about education and how we need to have representatives, just like on aging, we need to have representatives that reflect our views on school boards and those kind of committees. That was interesting. Did the landfill tour. That was really informative too. I also sat in on a webinar last week with the Council of Foreign Relations talking about the U.S. Latin American relations situation, immigration, migration, whichever way you wish to talk about it. And it's not going away. It's going to get worse. And then the allocation of where those people come into the country, where are they going to be settling? And it's a national issue. It's not just a thing of the southern border and Mass in different places. So I mean, it's alive and well, if we want to describe it that way. And it's the Will Freeman, who's the consultant that spoke to this, talked about, you know, this whole immigration thing. It's a business. It's not just one guy saying, oh, I want to go north. It's a business, and how can people make money to get them transported to America? And then the threat of different peoples that are coming in, because it's North Africa. It's not just South America. I guess the other question I have is, last couple of years, we've paid somebody, I don't know who it was, told us if you pay your taxes before the first of the year, you get money back from the state. And so we've gotten a check for, and I understood it was like with school districts or something, but the last couple of years, we've gotten money back, and $1,000, $1,500 back from paying our taxes early. I wish I had more information about how that works, and does that apply to everybody? Is it, and how do you get that word out? Because here we're talking about how do you save money? Well, one way you save money, and if you got to have money to pay your taxes, but if you can do it early and get $1,500 back, that seems like that's worthwhile to do that. So anyway, I don't know what the process is. And who's in the know, if that's a Kurt kind of thing that can have a report and get it covered and stuff, but maybe that's part of our job too, is that, okay, we're going to tax you, but here's a way you can get some of it back. Right. It all fits together.
That might be a question for Senator Hughes.
Yeah, I could respond real briefly. Basically, yeah, I think it's open to anybody. It's a percentage of your property taxes paid to education systems, and it's a credit that you apply for with your when you file your income tax, and so it would be any amounts that you paid. So if you're filing your next year, you'll file your 2023 income taxes. So it'd be any property taxes that you paid in the 2023 year. And that is, yeah, available to anybody that pays property tax and files an income tax return.
But I don't think it has to be done early, though.
Right, no.
Daniel, is that your total property tax bill, or just your portion paid towards schools?
Only it's a refund on the portion paid to schools.
Yeah, you were talking about two different things. You were talking about paying early, and this is the
Right.
school tax refund. So I don't know anything about paying early.
Yeah, I don't think it's just whatever is paid. So if you're a year behind, if you pay your so this year we paid our 2022 taxes. So in 2024, we would get a refund for the 2022 taxes. But if you paid your 2023 taxes at the end of the 2023, then you get a refund on those in 2024.
Like I said, I
So
don't
you
know
can
all
pay
the
early.
ramifications.
You can get extra by paying early.
But then you won't get it.
You won't get it the next year, so it all comes out.
Right, yeah.
Anything else, Woody? Okay, Stan?
Oh, we met with Harv, he's not here anymore, but we talked extensively about the stop sign project, and asked him what he would do with the old stop signs and so on and so forth. So that was basically it, and he's pretty happy with how things are going with the good weather. So that's it for my committee report.
Okay.
So I was also on the landfill tour with Woody. Senator Hughes was with us, and it was very informative, very eye-opening. We took a tour of the new pit, if you will, area. I'm not sure what the technical term is for it. They started directing trash into there in June, and the pile that's there in the 2.5, 3 months is eye-opening. YCDC, we had that meeting last week. Rural Workforce Housing Fund. We did get the donations needed to make that match. And there is a new round that will be coming up for an application. That one's going to be a 25% match versus a 50% match. And Lisa has had a number of conversations with communities outside of York City. So like McCool, Bradshaw, Waco. She's had some with Gresham to see if they would be interested in some of those funds in this next round. And I mean, the funds in the current round are available to anybody that would want to start a development. So they'll probably be looking for some match money for that as well. And let's see, manufacturing month is in October. I know I got an email. I'm not sure if everybody got an email, but anybody that wants to participate in some of those tours around manufacturing businesses in York County, definitely open to take that advantage. Budget's done. We don't need to talk
Everything?
about that anymore.
Is that everything?
That's everything.
Central District meeting is Thursday in Kearney. I think there's a handful of us going to that meeting. Construction project, we'll go talk with Cal here directly. I've tried to reach out to the Historical Society. I've got no response back. I will probably compose a letter and send to them, or tape it on the door or something up there. I had no luck over the last couple of weeks. I heard there was a sighting here in the courthouse, but I was late to get a hold of them. So we'll keep working at that, and that's in regards to the building up there at the probation office. So everybody knows October is the NERMA annual. There's usually some really good information at that. That's the 19th and 20th. It will have, it's really geared to HR. Pam Bourne will be there, usually giving some. It does have some quality information for us. If you want, I'm sure the clerk's office will help you sign up, or you can sign up online to go that. It's going to ask you which ones you want to set in, and if you're going to eat, stuff like that. Legislative meeting is also in October, and that's up in West Point. That's October 12th. I think the assessor is going up to that. I will not be able to make that one, but anybody that's going needs to probably pre-register to that also. A little bit, I've had conversations this last week about the lease that we have with the Fair Ag Society. Kelly did some searching, and we have found different leases that we've had. The last one you found that was from 97 to just last year only encompassed the east part of that property. So it didn't encompass the whole thing. So Rex is getting all that figured out and where it's at. I think before, and they would like to get going on the lease because the city is changing and gonna do some of the soccer fields up there. So hopefully at the next meeting we have an agreement. We'll get with the county attorney to get an agreement written up. I would like to pull some of that property back out And this would be directly south of our county shop building. They will not be utilizing any of that property anymore for soccer fields. It'll all be to the west of our county shop. An idea that I floated past Harvey was moving our maintainer shed in Benedict onto our property down here. It would be a project that possibly his guys could do over the winter, tearing it down. It's a steel building. We always need space out there and put it out behind there, and because I know our yard's getting pretty full with different things like that, so we'll continue to press on that. And then just right around the corner, the last thing I got is it is health insurance time, getting close to, I know it'll be the first of the year, but there'll be some conversations about health insurance going forward, and we hope for good things in that front. Anything else? Do you have anything?
Just make sure everybody has to
signs.
sign this, and then when I get the resolution done for the last two, I'll give you all an email, and you can come and sign that one too.
Okay, all right. Anybody have anything else before we take a little walk here? Okay, like I say, we're not adjourning, we're just gonna move outside and get a breath of fresh air for the time being. Anybody is welcome to come with if they want. We are still in session.
By the way, thank you, Budget Committee, for all your work on
That's
this.
good.
Thanks a lot.
I appreciate it.
Even though your comment last night about me talking wasn't,
Right. We cut my initial request by 22,000.
I sent you this picture.
Okay.
We're gonna walk around or sneak through.
rough, yeah.
Where'd everybody go?
It's cool.
It is.
It's cool.
It is 11 o'clock. I said, could we talk to Josh? Because you know Josh is around a lot. Of course, we couldn't answer that.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else before we exit stage right? Okay, hearing none. Thank you for all your help, guys. We are adjourned.